feeling like I'm in that end zone. I got my homies in a no new friend zone. You know, making plays that land us in the end zone. Coming in clutch, you can catch me in the end zone. End zone.
What is happening, people? And welcome back to In the End Zone UK, your home for all things NFL and much, much more. Week 9 is in the books, and just like that, we are officially past the halfway point of the 2025 season. It has been wild, unpredictable, and now every game really starts to matter. We have no little Camo this week. He's probably off somewhere screaming into a pillow because of the Packers' disastrous week against the Panthers. But I do have the Tennessee guy, Big Dave, with me on the podcast. Big Dave, we've made it to the back half of the season. How are you feeling this week?
Yeah, good. I mean, football is good again. You know, it's good to sit down and watch football all Sunday. Looking forward to another Europe game, I guess, this weekend. So a bit more early football. But yeah, good.
Good. This week was wild, and it's mad that we're over halfway through the season. I don't know whether it's felt long or whether it's felt short, but to say that we've got less than half of the games available this season remaining is a little bit sad, I think, don't you think?
Yeah. When it comes to this time of year, and not that you can see the end coming because we are only halfway through, but my season will be done in December. So for teams like yourself and Cam, who have probably got a little bit more football in January and hopefully February to come, it is always a little bit sad when you think about the end of the season because the off season seems to last. It's like the winters in Game of Thrones, you know, when it comes. Winter's coming, the end of season's coming, and then when it comes, it just lasts forever. Then it feels like you get 14 seconds of football, and then it's back again.
It's a good take on it as well, in the fact that it does last such a long time. And I guess it's because it is a long time, but we make the most of it right now whilst football is at its height. I'm calling this podcast Mid-season Mayhem because we are past that halfway point, and we've said it all this season so far. It has been so hard to call games. So many teams with balanced records, so many big upsets on paper, so many wild finishes. Week 9 was no different. Week 9 was almost that summarized in 1 week. So I'm calling it Mid-season Mayhem, and a great way to enter the first segment of this podcast is to talk about one of the most chaotic games this season so far. And we go into our game of the week. Now, Dave, during this game, or maybe I guess in the last few seconds of this game, in the early window of football, it was already determined that this was going to be the game of the week. And it was wild. Bengals versus the Bears. This matchup on paper might not have been one that had been circled by anybody, but it turned out to be one of the wildest games of the season. A combined 89 points on the board between these two teams. Quarterbacks throwing touchdowns, quarterbacks catching touchdowns, interceptions, fumbles, you name it. And the Bears somehow pulled off a late, less than a minute left play that we thought was going to go to overtime, but ended up being a touchdown, and they won. They went big and won this game and essentially silenced the Bengals home team. But I mean, 89 points in a game. The Bears win 47-42. Me and you both voted for this for the game of the week. I think just because of how much action it had in it. But just talk us through your perception of this game. The Bengals have been in a couple of game of the weeks, and I think it's because their defense just leaks points. But I did not expect to see what I saw from the Bears Bengals this week.
No, not one iota of defense was being played, was it? It wasn't as if there was defensive scores. I mean, it was Joe Flacco threw for 470 yards. He's nearly 4,000 years old. Some say that he was at primary school with Tutankhamun, and he's still out there throwing absolute peaches of balls at 400 years old. It was a sight to see, to be honest. I mean, it was, when you watch the red zone, you never get the full picture, do you? But it kept flicking to it because they were constantly, it felt like they were constantly in the red zone. It was like it was all that was on the TV because they were constantly in the red zone. Yeah. And Caleb Williams had a great game, 280 yards, 3 touchdown passes, obviously a touchdown catch. as well. But yeah, it was a crazy game. And you wouldn't necessarily think that, not that we planned these game of the weeks before the weeks played, obviously. However, you wouldn't think Bengals and Bears would have been up there. But it was.
But it absolutely was. This, like you said, this had absolutely everything. This had yards upon yards from one quarterback. This had touchdown catches, passes, and trick plays all over the place. The Bears, I think, scored on 3 different types of trick plays in this game. Caleb Williams had 2 catches in this game, which is just madness. 5 carries, and that's just the quarterbacks. And then you talk about the wide receivers, the running backs, sort of everybody feasted in this, and it was kind of like a feast for the offenses, and as you said, almost zero defense being played. But it is special what Joe Flacco's doing at the 08 that he's at now, throwing for nearly essentially 30 yards off 500 yards, 4 touchdowns. He did throw 2 interceptions, which, you can't escape from. And ultimately, the turnovers were the tail of this game, really, in the fact that the Bengals just kept letting the Bears back into it. They kept giving them opportunities to score every time the Bengals score. This just goes to show you, I guess, if there's no defense being played, just how offensive offenses can be. And having Jamar Chase, Higgins for the Bengals just almost pays them dividends every week. And I think we've said this so many times. If you go out and pay your biggest players, you expect them to come good. That's why you get a Joe Flacco to come in and facilitate those types of players. But I mean, T. Higgins, who's technically wide receiver 2 on this team, could be a wide receiver 1 in most other teams. 7 receptions, 121 yards, 2 touchdowns, and the touchdowns were unreal. Like full on Randy Moss going up and just high pointing those balls, making incredible catches. And you look at it and you think, wow, amazing. Like 111 yards for Jamar Chase, 121 for T. Higgins. Yet the Bengals still lose. Like, it's just, it makes zero sense to me in the fact that there was less than a minute left. All the Bengals had to do was stop Caleb Williams from getting into field goal range, which is a tough thing to do, not because it's Caleb Williams, but it's just tough to stop a team that essentially needs to go for it. But instead of holding them to a field goal, forcing overtime, he sent a rocket out to Colston Loveland, who broke a tackle, had a breakout game, 120 yards, 2 touchdowns. Their first round top 10 tight end pick. I mean, he's doing things that Kyle Pitts should have been doing when he was drafted out in like the 4th pick of whatever draft he came out of. And I don't know what to make. Let's talk about the Bears. But what do you make of the Bears? They're 5-3, so they're positive record, good record. They're in the NFL NFC North, which is a hard place to be, and they scored 47 points on the Bengals. Is this bluff because the Bengals defense is so bad, or what?
I think they've been getting better week on week, and it's obviously a coaching thing, because they're essentially the same team they were last year. And then they brought this Ben Johnson in from the Lions, obviously the Lions offensive coordinator. He's bringing all these trick plays over. He seems like a really good coach. I quite like him. He makes me like I don't really like the Bears, but he makes me like the Bears 5% more because he seems like a serious guy who actually wants to be the best coach out there.
Yeah.
And Kyle Monongai, 176 rushing yards, no touchdowns, ironically. And he had 22 receiving yards as well. He had nearly 200 yards.
From somebody who I've never heard of.
Yeah, and then you compare that to, and this is probably the difference between the two teams. The Bengals had about 14 rushing yards. They had, what's that? -1. So they had 46 rushing yards.
Right.
46 rushing yards.
Yeah. 0 actual control over the game.
Yeah, it seems like it was all reactionary from then and Joe Flacco just putting it on his back. But the Bears were obviously a balanced team, 200 yards, 302 yards passing, and over 200 yards rushing.
That's mad.
Yeah.
Their offensive line is clearly doing some good things because Swift, essentially the Bears, I read this earlier, the Bears lead the entire NFL in what is classed as explosive running plays. So I guess plays over 20 yards, which is not something that you would, in my mind, ever associate with the Bears. But their offensive line's making holes to make Swift look good. to make Monongai look good. So, I mean, the one thing when you say they've not changed much from last year, the only thing that's changed dramatically has been their offensive line. They brought in Joe Tooney. They made some splashes in the draft and in free agency, and it seems like it's helped.
I mean, how long have we spoke about that for?
Yeah.
If you want to be a good team, have a good offensive line, have a good defensive line, pay them, and you'll be able to run the ball. And if you can run the ball, you'll be able to throw the ball.
Yeah, agreed.
It's real simple, and it's strange how. I mean, I get it. There's not 32 times 5 worth of good offensive linemen. Not everybody in the league's good, you know.
Yeah.
So I get it's difficult, and then they've got to be well coached on top of that. But that's where you want to be paying your money. Yeah. If you're letting an offensive lineman go who's good, you want your head shaking. It's way more important to pay one of them than it is to pay these receivers. But
yeah, for sure.
What do we know?
Well, we clearly know a lot, because it is something that seems to be like just the fundamental cornerstones of football. And these teams that end up surprising people are the teams that have quietly bolstered that type of improvements on both those lines. I guess on the flip side, you've got the Bengals, who in real terms, Trey Hendrickson aside, have got neither on neither. And they end up getting pumped every week and can't stop anything on defense. Can't stop anything on offense, and it just becomes that. I mean, they're 3-6 now. I think we can almost pretty much say that they're not in a position to give like any hope to Joe Burrow coming back for like a late December, win streak that could get them into the playoffs. I think that's almost fundamentally gone now, and they've had one of the most historically bad. It's weird. They've had a historically bad defense. I think I read something about them. They've conceded over 38 points in back-to-back games, which has not been done since like the late 80s. And equally, they've scored more than 38 points in back-to-back games, but still lost, which has not been done since the 60s. Apparently, the Giants lost 2 games after scoring 40 points or something in 1966. But I mean, when you're digging out those types of stats, like a team that has not been as historically bad on defense since, for 30 years, you're playing pretty awfully.
Yeah. Yeah, I know, obviously, Mac is a Bengals fan, and he probably doesn't like to see this or hear this, on this podcast and then every Sunday. If you're putting 42 points up, you need to be winning these games. There's almost no excuse. If you can put 42 points up, I don't even know what the time of possession was. I imagine it was pretty heavily stacked in the Bears' favour if they were running the ball. I mean, they had the ball for 10 more minutes, say 34 minutes to 35 minutes. Wrong, 34 minutes to 25 minutes, which I suppose is you get when you run the ball. Only two punts for the Bears, 1 punt for the Bengals. Yeah, I mean, the Bengals turned the ball over 3 times, a fumble lost and 2 interceptions thrown, and that's going to do it. But I don't know. You put 42 points if you expect your team to win, don't you?
You absolutely do. But this arcs back. You can almost forget about Joe Flacco, and this arcs back to the Bengals last season when they had Burrow, and the same principle was being applied. The Bengals were putting up 32, 35, 36, 38 points towards the back end of last season and still not winning. And they had the same problem. It was like, how can you put up 30 plus points in multiple weeks and still lose? And it's because your defense is so incredibly bad. And shock horror, the Bengals in the offseason were up in the air with don't we pay our best defensive player? Do they go and be aggressive in the draft for defensive players and then throws about as well? Like mess around their number 1 draft pick. I know they got him to play, but ultimately there was a narrative behind. You've got to be all in. Look at the Eagles. Look what they do. They go all in, and they make sure that they make moves to bring in the best talent they can, and they sacrifice picks here and there for to secure talent. Whereas the Bengals, I feel like the talent on their defense, again, Trey Hendrickson aside, is non-existent. You tell me a good player that plays for the Bengals that's on defense. Yeah,
I mean, they've got that Cam Taylor-Britt, who I do like.
Not a bad corner. Corner.
But I know what you're saying. And even that Shamar, what's his name?
Shamar Stewart.
Yeah. He's been awful. He's been non-existent. And you're right to point out teams like the Eagles, because the Eagles constantly, when you're playing at that end, when you play the level they play at, and you're drafting where they're drafting, who cares? You're drafting at the end of the first round. They're not. Then the difference between the bottom of the first round and the top of the first round is there is a difference there. That's the reason the draft is the way the draft is. The Eagles don't care about them picks. They'll trade them away because they're winning Super Bowls. They know that they can trade a third round pick like they haven't picked up like a rotational pass rush, and they can rotate them in, and it can have an impact on whereas I don't know, these teams that they refuse to do it. The Bengals have been noted. I mean, before Joe Burrow, they were a bottom feeding team. They kind of still are, which is weird. They were in the Super Bowl not too long ago.
Yeah, like one
not too many
though, really.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, they've not really. I mean, they've obviously not been back since, but you need to utilize this time because these Joe Burrows don't come around very often. Otherwise, every team would have one. You've got him the wide receivers. You need to focus on that defense, and if you need to trade for players, you need to trade for players. But
yeah,
they've got so many holes that you can't pay. You can't. Well, I guess this is what you get. You pay your two best wide receivers mega money, and you put on 42 points, which is great. Yeah. But when you're conceding 47, it's not great.
Yeah, that is it. That is the simple thing of it. And I think the Bengals have probably like almost lent into the story of last season, which is we can outscore you. All we need to do is like stop the opposite team from scoring slightly more points, but they cannot stop it. I've not seen a worse defense in a long time than the one that I'm watching the Bengals. It's almost tragic. So, I mean, this game though, like again, you're in a position where Ben Johnson, who's this creative mind from Detroit, is coming in, running the Philly special, having wide receivers throw to Caleb Williams for a touchdown. Like it kind of takes the piss a little bit. They actually ran trick plays, something like 32% of their converted offense was trick plays in that game, which is crazy because you just think. But equally, on the Bears side, it's the only thing this season that's really properly got them going. Like they've not been a team that operates within like the way that a normal operating team should play. Aside from the running game, which has been great, anything that's come from Caleb Williams has been off script, out on the run essentially, or a dialed up trick play, which seems to just also baffle me. It makes me feel like the Bears are not quite where they need to be. But I guess if you've got a creative enough coach to get those things to come off and happen, then I suppose it's a good string to have to your bow. I just don't think I'd necessarily believe it. I don't think the Bears are a good team ultimately. I know you said they're getting better, but they also had 42 points put on them. And at one point it was anybody's game.
Yeah, it's hard to look at having 42 points put on you as a good thing. I guess the good thing they take away from it is the fact that they were on the right side and they won.
Yeah.
And then you just try and work on that week to week, because essentially the NFL is literally it's such a week to week sport. I don't think there's any other sport like it where bad teams beat good teams. It's just so random. And I think that if they can take that and then get into the playoffs and just keep adding little pieces here and there, they're going to, I mean, they're a historic team, I guess, a franchise. They've had the Bears defense of the 80s or whatever it was, 70s or 80s, whatever it was. I think they're a team that people probably want to play for. So you keep adding little bits here and there, and you get these veterans, like the Texans, when the Texans got to the playoffs and suddenly everybody wanted to be on the Texans team.
Yeah.
These free agents will want to come and play for these teams if they're winning. So,
for sure, then. Yeah, they're making themselves more appealable. That is no doubt. And Caleb Williams has been a lot better than he was last year. So they're moving in the right direction. I just think that it's weird because when you think game of the weeks, I was reluctant to choose this one because I'm talking about the Bears and the Bengals having 40 burgers put on each other, and is that a game of the week? But this was too fruity to let go. Even the commentators on this one, Dave, like when that final touchdown was thrown by Caleb Williams, I mean, he wasn't throwing for a touchdown, was he? He was throwing to
get the yards,
be in field goal range and give them a chance at tying the game. And then all of a sudden, this top 10 draft pick, Colston Loveland, shrugs off a tackle and has the speed to get into the end zone to essentially end the game. And it was a weird one. Good for the Bears as well, because I think Cole Kmet went off injured, who's their still number one tight end, and it gave this Colston Loveland an opportunity. And that's what you got to do when you're a first round draft pick. If you get a moment to shine, 120 yards off your tight end and a game-winning touchdown, as well as another one, you can't ask for any better. It makes that first-round pick look exactly what you wanted it to be.
Yeah, and especially because Warren's been going off, and he was the second tight end picked, and Loveland was the first tight end picked. He needs to pick it up a little bit, and he certainly did that game.
Absolutely. So yeah, I mean, madness. It talks to the name of this episode, which is Mid-season Mayhem, because that game in itself was utter mayhem. 47 to the Bears, 42 to the Bengals. In the first quarter, we had 14 points. In the second quarter, we had 20 points. In the third quarter, we had 21 points. And in the fourth quarter, we had 31 points. And that's just wild. It's a great game for the neutral to sit and watch something that was just going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But that's the game of the week. Bears, Bengals, and why not? Why not? And that NFC North, is one of the tougher places to be in the NFL right now. I think, with the Lions, the Bears, the Packers doing okay, and even the Vikings making a bit of a resurgence, which we'll talk about a little bit later. Cool. We'll now move on, and it's time for that age-old classic, Dave. We're going to move into our segment 2, and that is slap or sign. And if you're new to this, it's simple. Each of us picks 2 players from the AFC, 2 players from the NFC, and we slap them if they've had an abysmal performance, and we sign them for dominating this given week. And this week, I want us to start in the AFC, Dave, and I want who you're going to sign from the AFC.
So I am going to sign Peyton Wilson, who's a linebacker for the Steelers.
Nice.
Sort of like caveat it with, I'm also going to sign the Steelers defense, because I think we've given them some shit this season because they are the most expensive thing since Mark Zuckerberg changes his pants. But that Peyton Wilson, he seems like, I don't know how to put it. He's a solid linebacker that nobody knows anything about.
Yeah.
You know, unless you're a Steelers fan, you probably never even heard of him. But what a game he had this week.
He was everywhere, wasn't he?
Oh, yeah. He had 13 total tackles and an interception. But I don't know what it is about middle linebackers that I kind of like. But he was just, the Steelers defense in total just absolutely made Daniel Jones revert back. They hit a hard reset on him, and they give him a system restore back to 2020 when he was like a Giants quarterback. And they had him doing absolutely everything. You know, I think he threw 3 interceptions. They recovered. Yeah, I think as a team, did they lose 2 fumbles?
They had 6 turnovers in this game.
Yeah,
and
3 fumbles lost.
Yeah,
3 interceptions. Yeah, he had a bad game, but I think it's all about that pressure, you know, that pressure that the Steelers defense can put on teams. You know, TJ Watt was obviously back to being TJ Watt. Did he have a strip sack recovery?
He did. He had the triple.
Yeah, I mean, how many times has he had that? You look at his stats and you think you're like 1 tackle, 2 assisted tackles, and a sack. And that's why stats don't tell the story of a game. Sometimes you got to watch it to realize how bad. Jonathan Taylor was so ineffective in this game because they could not establish the run. And I think that the Colts seem to be a team that maybe when they go up, they can front run quite easily, a little bit like the Lions, where if they're coming from behind, sometimes it can seem like they're struggling.
Yeah.
And Daniel Jones had nowhere. He didn't have time to do anything. the Steelers defense were all over him. And it was just that Peyton Wilson that seems to stick out. It felt like he was in every tackle. He battered that ball down to pick it off. They were just all over the shop. And I think that it's the first time probably this season that we've really seen the Steelers defense be the Steelers defense.
Yeah, agreed. They did a few things differently this week, which I think maybe allowed them to do that. So they played Jalen Ramsey at free safety for the whole game, which is the first time they've done that this year. Which means they put like a bit of consistency in the backfield instead of moving him around in the slot, sometimes playing him at free I think that's because they signed a new safety. I can't remember who it was. Was it Trevor Morig or was it Kyle Duggar or somebody? They signed somebody new. I'll have a look in a minute and see. But they signed a new safety ultimately. So I think they played more of a base framework of their team and stopped moving things around a bit. And I think it might have helped. And then you add in those pass rushers who actually got home for the first time, which again is weird because the Colts offensive line's been dominant this year so far. But I guess, as you said earlier, when it's week to week, sometimes you get a bad matchup. If the way that you pass protect just does not suit, you going up against TJ Watt and you get ruined, it's a week to week thing. The Steelers have not done it this year so far, but their formula just sort of seemed to work on the Colts. And when it is firing, no wonder it's the most expensive defense in the league, because when it's firing, it's freaking red hot. TJ Watt, Highsmith, Cam Hayward, this Wilson guy, Ramsey, Slay, all these people can ball out if they want to or if they're in the right position to. And yeah, I nearly slapped, I changed my mind, but I nearly slapped Daniel Jones this week just because. I've changed my mind a little bit because I don't want to be the first person to jump on it and be like, Daniel Jones, he's shit, because he's played amazing this season, and I'm definitely not taking that away from him. But as you said, he almost did a little bit of a like, oh, I'm New York Giants, Danny Dimes. Like he kind of stuttered back into that unawareness in the pocket, not protecting himself. If he fumbles it, he loses it. That type of Daniel Jones where you think, oh dear, don't let that get into your head, Daniel Jones, because you've been playing great football. And I think maybe it's just a one-off, but he played horrendously bad. Like, if nothing else, ball protection is it's paramount as a quarterback. And to throw 3 interceptions, whether they were battered down or thrown to the wrong place, is just not good enough from an NFL quarterback. Certainly not good enough to win games. Certainly not good enough for a team that is on the rise. At this point they were 7-1. They'd lost one game. They were steamrolling teams, and it just means that the pressure is on. And as you say, Jonathan Taylor can't get the ball going, so it's all in the hands of your franchise quarterback being Daniel Jones. It was a bad outing for him ultimately. Overall, he threw a couple of nice passes, but the Steelers shut everything down.
Yeah, I mean, he had 342 yards in the end. He had a rushing touchdown, QB sneak, and a passing touchdown. But yeah, it was a tough outing. But what I would say is that if you're a Steelers fan and a Colts fan, it's probably not a time to get too high or too low, because the Colts turned the ball over 6 times and were in it to the very end. It finished 27-20. If you're the Steelers, you're getting 6 turnovers and can't put a team away. That's pretty worrying, I'd say.
Yeah, it's not all sunshine and rainbows for sure. I think it's weird. It's when teams, so many times you hear like teams not having a complete game. It's like they've got a great defense and that plays well, but their offense sucks, or they've got a great offense but the defense plays awfully. Bengals. It's like when a team puts it like if the Steelers could put it together, their offense has actually been their strength this year. But in today's game, Rodgers had 203 yards for 1 touchdown, and they only rushed as a team for 38 yards. Like that's not in any way, shape or form even, I guess, good numbers. That's poor numbers, really, in the scheme of things. That's a really bad offense, and they can't get anything going. They can't get DK Metcalf had six yards on 2 receptions. They can't get anything going. They have played more 3 tight end sets this season, I think, than any other team bar the Rams. And they just go big personnel and just try to like bully their way downfield. And they can do it. It's not
38
exciting.
Rushing yards though.
Yeah, it's awful.
That's all. I mean, the Colts had 55. But you think, like I said, again, with 6 turnovers, you'd think the time of possession for the opposite team would be outrageous because you'd think they'd just run the ball and run the life out of the clock once they're up, or whatever. But the Colts had more time of possession than them as well. Really odd game.
Yeah, the silver lining for the Colts, even though bad offensive play is the defense played well, kept them in the game. I guess you get kept in the game whilst you're giving up yards. They didn't get blown out, which could have been very easy off 6 turnovers.
No, and the Colts 5 for 5 on 4th down. Pretty impressive.
Were they? Yeah. So many teams going for it on 4th down at the moment.
Yeah.
Like it's almost like the narrative of the NFL is totally changing. Some for the greater good, some for just the fact that they're desperate. But yeah, bit of a weird one. Okay. And my AFC sign, I'm taking us all the way back to Amazon's Thursday night football game, and I am signing Lamar Jackson. So the Ravens played at home to the Dolphins, and they beat the brakes off them, basically. It was 28-6. Not even close. And I think the reason why I'm signing Lamar is because this game proved what a difference it is to have somebody like him in the mix versus somebody like Tua playing on the other side for the Dolphins, or somebody like Cooper Rush who's come in and tried to steady the ship whilst Lamar's been injured for the Ravens. And the truth of the matter is there is nobody like him. Like the difference is night and day. When you look at how good is a good player versus how good is an average NFL player, I say good, great player is Lamar. It's night and day. He had 4 touchdowns, 204 yards through the air, 143 passer rating, 4 touchdowns. And, the Baltimore Ravens have not been able to get anything really moving without him in the team. All of a sudden, he's throwing 2 touchdowns to Mark Andrews, another tight end touchdown to somebody called Charlie Kolar I've never, ever heard of. Rashad Bateman had a touchdown. Derrick Henry goes for over 100 yards again because you're having to now account for Lamar's legs. I would say Lamar didn't look 100% healthy in this game. He didn't move around the same way that he would normally. Coming off the back of a hamstring, probably wanted to protect himself. But no worries. If you're throwing 4 touchdowns, yeah, you do that. You keep fresh legs for the following week. But I mean, I guess this is me just saying Lamar's back. The Ravens are 3-5 because they stunk so hard without him. Is that enough to get them going into the playoffs? Maybe, but they're going to have to go on some sort of epic run to do so. I guess the AFC is fairly open at the moment, so there's every opportunity they could still get there and still be very, very competitive and maybe go the distance. But Lamar is incredibly special, and to come in and throw for 4 touchdowns after being out for a few weeks and just re-energize the Ravens is massive. And more than anything, he just buried the Dolphins into a really, really, really poor position in the AFC. The Dolphins are one of the worst teams to watch at the moment. So yeah, Lamar Jackson gets my sign, Dave.
Yeah, the instant difference between them, you just can't replace like a multiple time MVP with, well, anybody, but definitely not Cooper Rush. Who's the other one they use?
Snoop Huntley.
Oh yeah, he's fucking turbo dog turd. Yeah, I mean, ultimately, they're 3-5. The Steelers are 5-3. I think the Ravens will make it to the playoffs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I can't see them losing many games if Lamar's back. Give him a bit of time to knock the rust off and see. I think they'll be coming back. I wonder who the rest of their games are. Got the Vikings next. I mean, they obviously got to play the Browns. They got to play the Jets, the Bengals. They've got to play the Steelers twice.
I mean, so there's some gimmies in there when you look at the Jets and the Bengals and stuff, and even as you say, Lamar's so good, he doesn't need gimmies. Like he can beat good teams, never mind bad teams. So yeah, I would definitely say that they're in the mix to get in the playoffs. I think it's not obviously stood them in great stead for any kind of like home field, but at the end of the day, just getting in gives you a chance. And I think Lamar, just getting him back, it's for me watching football as well as a neutral, just seeing him play instead of freaking Cooper Rush and Huntley. It was like, oh, we've got a top flight quarterback back in the league, which is nice to see because we've been watching some some proper trash over the last few weeks.
Yeah, we need
including them.
Yeah, and I'm glad that they do. I'm glad that they do protect quarterbacks because it is such a different game to watch when you've not got these superstars playing. But yeah, the rate. I mean, Lamar's especially, and like you say, him being back opens up. Like Derrick Henry, we've not even heard of Derrick Henry for the last couple of weeks, for the last month probably. Shock, Lamar comes back and he's over 100 yards again.
Exactly. And then whilst we're talking about this, the Dolphins, they could muster in that entire game was 2 field goals, 6 points. Tua looked absolutely terrible at a QBR of 22.9, 1 interception, 260 yards, no touchdowns. Do you think that he is done? Like after this year in Miami, do you think he's done?
I think he's chopped suey. I think if I'm the Dolphins, I'm bringing in a new GM. Obviously, but that the head coach is obviously getting sacked.
Yeah, he needs to be.
So if it were me, I'd be drafting a new quarterback just to hit a whole reset. If you're going to keep anybody, keep Waddle to give you your new quarterback a true number 1 receiver, but you clear house with the rest of them. You know, get rid of Tua. He's getting paid too much money. Trade him for a bag of chips. Just get him out of there. I don't think he's worth that much. I think some team would probably take him, like the Jets would take him.
Yeah,
probably because
maybe.
I mean,
but what is he at the moment? This is my thing. Is Tua like what is Tua at the moment? This is why I feel like they should have played Zach Wilson before now because he's their backup and just given him a go to see. Because I feel like Tua in every aspect in his game, in his these weird post game podium talks that he seems to be having every week, where he just sounds like a knob, and then like a pre-game like hype thing that went viral because he called 4 quarters 4 hours, and it was like the most hype up pre-game speech you've ever heard. Just really clunky. He just feels like he's gone. Like he feels like, and we've said it on every episode, but it just feels like his head is mashed potato. His body clearly isn't up to NFL standards. He can't move quickly either. Like he's not mobile. He's not that kind of dual threat. So it's not even like he can try and save himself, but he often tries to and moves and ends up getting hurt or slapped or slammed or concussed or whatever. Where does he go where he's a better quarterback than the starter? You've just said the Jets. I
don't think there's anywhere he can go because look at what he's got. He's got the ultimate weapons. He's out. Take this season out. I mean, he started this season with Tyreek Hill before Tyreek got injured. They weren't winning games then.
No.
So you're not going to go anywhere and get better receivers than Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. Where are you going to go that's got better receivers than them where you're going to start? There's nowhere.
No. And a receiving back like Achan and a tight end like Jonnu Smith. Like,
yeah. Or Darren Waller.
Or Waller, yeah.
You're not going to go anywhere. I'm trying to think where he could go and start.
Yeah, there is really not many places.
I think the best place for him would be the Falcons as a backup because he's a left-hander and so is Michael Penix. Yeah. So at least it gives him like, if Penix goes down for whatever reason, you could play 2. It'd be a great backup. But I just don't think he's not got the juice anymore. And I think he hamstrings the offensive coordinator because you can't do any QB draws because if a strong raindrop hits his head, he's out for 3 weeks. I feel like his days as a starter are gone, and feel free if you're a Dolphins fan and you think differently, messages, because I'd like to hear, or we'd all like to hear your opinions on it, because it ain't. I know the Titans came into the season not expecting, I guess, to be world beaters, but Dolphins fans, I imagine if you were coming to the season, you just signed Darren Waller, like a good tight end who was actually really good for them. You got Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. You probably thought, actually, there's a strong chance we can get to the playoffs here. It must be a really, really disappointing season.
Yeah, it has to be when your expectations are, strong playoff contender, with a big upside. Ultimately, I think when we did our division dives, we said, okay, Miami's not what we thought it was going to be last year, but it still has a huge upside. If Tyreek is Tyreek Hill, and Waddle is what, a 1B, even a 1A. Like they can beat the brakes off teams, but they clearly have not been able to do it. And yeah, I think that's a real problem. So signing Lamar Jackson, but I think the Dolphins made it easy on him. That's for sure. And they're in full fire sale mode right now. And just as a bit of breaking news, they've just traded Jalen Phillips to the Eagles. So we might get to talking about that on another podcast later in the week, with the trade deadline being tomorrow, Tuesday. We'll see what players move. But for now, the Dolphins are already starting to clean house, which is an interesting one to see. Okay, there are signs, Dave. Let's stay in the AFC and go to slaps. Who are you slapping from the AFC?
I am slapping the Kermit the Frog sounding, ref kissing, cheating, stinking Patrick Mahomes.
Always gives you so much pleasure to slap Patrick Mahomes. When you sign him, I can see the vomit taste in your mouth. When you slap him, you feel good.
Yeah, this was great. He was awful, stunk it up, which is great to see. Less than 50% completion percentage, 15 to 34, 250 yards, and an interception, not even a touchdown. It was great. It's great to see. I absolutely love the fact that the Bills beat him. What's Josh Allen now? I think he's like 5-1 in it against him in the regular season.
Yeah, they beat.
Also, that means win when it comes to the playoffs, because I think Mahomes is like 3-0 against him. But yeah. No, it's definitely. I think I actually think as well that this game knocked the Chiefs out of the playoffs, as in they were both wild card teams, but the loser went to like the 10th seed or something like that.
Yeah, as it stands, Jacksonville getting ahead of the Chiefs right now.
Yeah, which is good. Obviously, it's not going to end that way. The Chiefs will make the playoffs, I'm sure. However, the score, like my girlfriend's a Bills fan, in case people didn't know, and she loves to rub it in. The Bills not rubbing anything else in. Yeah, and I don't think the score line is probably accurate of the game. I watched all the game, to be fair, and the Bills didn't actually look troubled. I think they punted a couple of times, and I think that if it was the playoffs, they'd have probably gone for it. The score was a little bit kinder to the Chiefs. They had a couple of like blown plays that got them like fourth down conversions, like large fourth down conversions.
Yeah.
Joey Bosa made Mahomes' life a nightmare.
He was class in this game. I nearly started him.
He was so good.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that Mahomes got body slammed on the sideline. There was so much to love about Mahomes just getting battered. If you're a Chiefs fan, I hope you're really enjoying this. But yeah, no, the team just didn't do enough. I think you could definitely tell the difference now. He's got his receivers back there. Rishi Rice definitely makes the Chiefs' offense better. But we were talking about the running backs, weren't we, earlier on? What has happened to Pacheco?
Yeah, he's half the man he was in his first season. He was injured in this game, obviously, which is why he didn't actually play at all. But even when he's on the field at the moment, I mean, I know because I drafted him in fantasy and have dropped him, picked him back up, dropped him a couple of times already this season. But he's like averaging like 2.2 yards a carry. His angry runs now look more like Paddy's as opposed to, I say Paddy's like Mardy's. Like he's having a tantrum on the spot as opposed to moving forward. And yeah, they're just shutting him down. And then on the flip side, to your point, Dave, with teams with great offensive lines, Bills have got one of the best offensive lines in the NFL right now. They move defensive linemen back 2 or 3 paces before James Cook has even touched the ball, and he's having back to back 100+ yard games, looking at every week like the efficient running back that you need in this NFL.
Yeah, well, this is the first time since Christmas Day 2023 that the Bills have allowed that the Chiefs have allowed a 100-yard rusher for a running back. Lamar put 100 yards on him last year, I think. But
right.
So the last time a running back put 100 yards on him was, I think they said, a Raiders running back.
Right, Jacobs probably.
No, some, I'm going to say no name because I definitely have heard of him, but it wasn't Jacobs. Okay. It was Christmas. I think Christmas Day 2023 is when they said was the last time that they allowed a running back to over 100 yards on him. And Cook had like 68 yards in the first half. They struggled with him. I mean, he had 114 yards. Josh Allen had 2 rushing touchdowns. Yeah, 2 rushing touchdowns as well. QB sneaks. They've got their own version of the tush push, which looks a bit naughty as well. As of
Yeah,
the
good.
Seahawks.
Yeah, we do actually. Yeah, true. The the score was 28-21. Like you said, Dave, it's not indicative of how the game felt. It did feel like the Bills were in control of this one. They were at home with Buffalo, so that was an advantage. Just being in Buffalo at home with the crowd, it seemed like a proper ready and up for it crowd as well. But yeah, I think the Chiefs are always obviously going to be relevant whilst they got Patrick Mahomes, but today was not his day. Today was a day that he got. It's one of those age-old Patrick Mahomes games. You find a way to get in his face, which Bosa did, which Rousseau did. It really, really rattles him. And do you know who else I think made a massive difference in this game? And it's the first game that he's played this year so far. That Maxwell Hairston for the Bills, who they took in the first round, who was the fastest player in the NFL draft last year, ran like a 4.29 or 4.28 or something. Absolutely rapido. He ran step for step on a go route against Xavier Worthy, which I think Mahomes thought he was going to have wide open because it was literally one-on-one and couldn't complete the pass. Hairston had time to turn around, look for the ball, didn't bat it down, but basically broke up the pass. And I think that that's a game changer for the Bills, to have somebody who can go one-on-one with your best receiver is not something the Bills have had since like old original white days. Yeah, and it just changes the way you can play defense then, because you can be more aggressive up front because you know that you've got the coverage. And yeah, getting Hairston in I think will be a massive plus for this Bills team if he continues to play, that way.
And I think it kind of just shows you the difference. I think they've both got their own qualities. I don't want to say Mahomes is better than Allen, or who would I want my team to have if we could have either. I think Josh Allen is a little bit more. I think he's a little bit more secure in the pocket in the face of adversity. I think Josh Allen can put a team on his back, and if nothing's there, he'll run for them yards. I know Mahomes does that as well, but I feel like Mahomes sees an open space and runs to it, where Josh Allen sometimes will just be like, I'm going
to go through you, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's the difference between them. I think we've seen it in 2 Super Bowls where Mahomes has just been absolutely decimated by a defensive line, and he can't do anything.
Yeah, it's his kryptonite.
I
know it's any quarterback's kryptonite, but specifically his is the navigating a full steam ahead pass rush really fucks him up.
Yeah, which is good to see.
I know you love it. And to be fair, I found myself, as much as I'm a Chiefer who enjoys watching the Chiefs, I did find myself, whether it's because I've got Josh Allen in fantasy as well as an extra, but I did find myself just wanting the Bills to win this because it just felt like the right thing to do. It felt like the Bills fully deserved to win it. And this year doesn't feel like, as much as they've played good football over the last maybe 3 games of the Chiefs, it doesn't feel like it's their year, and it would be quite nice to not have a year that is the Chiefs' year, I guess.
Yeah, no, I think I'm ready for new people in not just in the playoffs, but definitely in the Super Bowl. Now we're halfway through. I would be more than happy to not see the Chiefs or the Eagles in the Super Bowl. I think it might be a time for like a Bills Ravens AFC Championship game, or even throw the Colts in there and have get the Colts. There's certain teams that I think would be nice. It'd be nice to see them in there, or especially in the Super Bowl.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's definitely that time. The fatigue as well and truly sort of kicked in. And I think actually this season is also playing to that narrative. Whether it comes to fruition or not is a different question, but it feels like the playing field is far more open than it has been in previous years for some, rogue team to get in there. So let's hope so. Cool. So that is a big old slap for Paddy Mahomes, and I guess well done to the Bills. It's not an easy thing to do to beat the Chiefs, and Josh Allen has had his ups and downs, but generally speaking, this season still looks every good as he always has done, which is great to see. My AFC slap is going to go to the Houston Texans offense, and it's because I feel sorry for the defense. So they're playing lights out. They're playing lights out every single week, apart from the week that they played against the Seahawks. But they really are. They held the Broncos to 15 points until the very end of the fourth quarter, whilst the Texans offense like stumbled, fumbled, bumbled, anything that rhymes with umbled along. And I get that this week CJ Stroud went out with a concussion off a dirty hit by a Broncos player, and it was a filthy, unprotected hit as CJ Stroud was taking a slide. But it doesn't really matter. Like, Davis Mills is a serviceable second string quarterback, and I just feel like the Texans have been doing this for too long this year now for it to be ignored. They're 3-5 at this point in time, and they couldn't muster more than 15 points. Granted, the Broncos defense is probably the best defense in the NFL. They certainly lead the NFL in sacks by about 8 sacks, but it's just not good enough. You know, like, what are the excuses that the Houston Texans have got? They had a plethora of people come and join them because they were on the up, just like the Washington Commanders did the year after. They've had a quarterback that is seemingly, you know, the best thing since sliced bread that came out of that draft, at one behind Bryce Young, and CJ Stroud was the prodigal son that saves Houston, which, you know, in his first season he was. Second season he regressed. Third season, whilst injured in this one, it's just not been fun. They've not been fun to watch on offense. They've been a great defense to watch. If you love defensive football, which, you know, me and you both do, I do love watching the Texans defense. You know, those edges, Hunter and what's his name? Will Anderson Jr. They've got great linebackers. They've got amazing their secondary is unbelievable. Jalen Petrie is awesome. Derek Stingley is awesome. They're awesome to watch. And they've held so many teams this year to next to no points, but they just can't put them up. So the slap is going to the offense. I don't know what that means, whether it's quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, coaching. It's just got to be across the board, because you can't turn around every single week and like look at your defense in the face and be like, sorry, boss, we done messed up again because we couldn't score more than 15 points. It's not good. It's not on. It's not what the NFL is all about. And when you've got a heavily defensive-minded coach like DeMeco Ryans, you need some creativity in there. You've got to get something going. Got to.
Yeah, and Davis Mills looked better than CJ Stroud when he came in. CJ Stroud was doing absolutely nothing. And do you know what? I actually am glad that Stroud got hit like that, because I'm sick to death of Azeez Al-Shaair doing it to every other quarterback. They're a dirty team. He's a dirty player.
That's true. That is true.
There needs to be a way of dealing with him. Like, he needs suspending from every time he does a dirty hit on a quarterback, he should be suspended. It's constant now. He's got like a real history of doing it. And he used to be a Titans player, and he was somebody who I cheered for, and I never saw that at the Titans. Maybe because I was cheering those dirty hits. However, now we've been on the receiving end and they're not getting flagged. I think it's disgusting. So that aside, you are right. Their defense is so good. And Stingley is this amazing player who's like mega humble. He's not like, like Jair Alexander, like an arsehole who knows he's really good. You never really see nothing off him. I do like the secondary. Obviously, we like they're, I guess, our rivals, but it is strange how much they've regressed in 2 years from being this team that, like you say, everybody wanted to be a part of. They were the future, the up and coming sort of team, to now being what they are, which is a real pedestrian offense. I know they probably missed Joe Mixon a lot at running back. Nick Chubb's, he had one of the worst knee injuries you can possibly get. They've not really got much else. They've got a running back called British Brooks. Oh my God. Who was that year? Yeah. Nick Chubb, 11 rushes for 34 yards. But
they definitely are missing Joe Mixon, but I still, as much as I like Joe Mixon, I'm fairly big fan of his. He's a 3-down back. He can do everything, but I still don't think that this team is far better than it is now with him in the team, because the offensive line stinks. They're constantly under duress. The wide receivers seemed like Nico Collins. He was an absolute Megatron last year, wasn't he? Just coming down with everything, deep balls, slants, busted yak to the house. I feel like he's played okay, but he's not playing like a he's not playing like a number. I wouldn't even say even a number one receiver at this point in time in the league. Like he's playing like a good two.
Yeah, they just don't seem to. The shine's worn off them pretty quickly. The Denver Broncos, they kept them to 18 points, but I mean, I think they're an inflated record, 7-2. They don't seem like a 7-2 team. They do on defense, I guess, but
agree. Yeah, I entirely agree.
Their offense doesn't seem that. Bo Nix, I mean, I don't know what to say about him. I don't know if he's not good. I don't like him. I don't like his fake teeth as well. Or maybe they're not fake. I think he's got a mouth guard that's like really white veneers. It offends me when I look at him and he's dead spotty. Yeah. But they just seem to like they can't seem to run the ball. They can't seem to be consistent and passing the ball. I don't want to say he's regressed, but he was under 50%. 18 completions for 37 attempts for 173 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick.
Yeah. The Broncos are basically just like a slightly more efficient version on offense of the Texans. That's ultimately what is happening, because the Broncos defense is holding teams to 15 to 17 points every week, and Bo Nix is just managing to sort of dial it up to get more points than the team that they've played against. There was an anomaly last week when they played the Cowboys, I get that, where they absolutely blew the back doors off them. But aside from that, the offense has not been firing. I think Bo Nix looked better year one than he does in year two. And then, it's the tale of having a great defense, is you don't actually have to do much on offense. But imagine if the defense of both of these teams was not actually very good. Or if it was just average.
Yeah.
They'd be getting blown out every week.
Well, they've been in one score game against the Titans. That's not impressive. They got beat by the Colts, again, a 1-score game. Chargers got beat by the Chargers, a 1-score game. They blew the Bengals out.
That was a Bengals without anybody. Yeah.
Yeah. Beat the Eagles, 1-score game. Beat the Jets they scored 13. The Jets scored 11. 1-score game. Giants beat the Giants 33-32. 1-score game. It's like they either completely dismantle a team, i.e. the Broncos beat the Cowboys, or they're winning like a real tight 1-score game. And you want to be on the right side of them. You know what I mean? Like they're on the right side of them for the most part. So they're doing enough. I just don't know. I don't know if it's a similar thing to who was we talking about a minute ago when we were talking about them just scraping through games. I can't remember, but
no, I can't.
It'll come to me in a minute. But anyway, yeah, I think if you can do that and just add pieces here and there, that's probably like the best way to do it. And I think that the Broncos are just scraping through. They're 7-2. What a record that is. I do think it's a bit fraudulent. I think they're a bit of a fraudulent 7-2. But they're 7-2, and they'll be sat there now listening to this going, "Shut up, Baldy. Your team's 1-8." Yeah, it is. Cheers.
Yeah.
I'm trying not to be a hater. Is basically what I'm saying. I'm trying to sprinkle a bit of glitter on the turd that is the Broncos. But don't know.
No, absolutely. So yeah, the Broncos do win this essential stinker of a game, 18-15. They go to 7-2. Houston Texans playoff chances are dwindling week in, week out, and they go to 3-5. They could still get there, of course. They've got a chance. We're still only just over halfway through, but it doesn't. The future does not look rosy for the Texans. They need to start complementing their defense, because when you look at them, they're playing amazingly. So slap goes to the Houston Texans offense. Let's go into the NFC. And Dave, let's start with a positive, and let's sign the players we want to from the NFC. And where are you going for your first NFC sign?
I'm going to sign Matt Stafford. I think I've signed him a couple of times.
I've signed him as well this year because he basically is the MVP this year so far. Maybe, Jonathan Taylor aside.
Yeah, I think it's Jonathan Taylor he definitely did himself no favours this week. But Matt Stafford, 24 of 32, 281 yards and 4 passing touchdowns. The guy's an absolute machine. And
he's amazing.
I feel like he's been a machine all season. I don't know what he's on right now. Stats like 21 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. That's Aaron. That's Aaron Rodgers. That is 6-2, 67% completion percentage. He's been absolutely killing it.
I think now, I just think now with how this week has played out, I know you can't go week by week, but it does make a little bit of a difference. I think if I was being, because I freaking hate the Rams, but if I was being fully objective, I think I would actually give Stafford the MVP right now.
I don't know who. I'm trying to think of who. Maybe it's because Jonathan Taylor had an absolute stinker of a week. I'm trying to think of who else would be in that conversation. There's no other quarterback that's playing like him.
There's a couple of quarterbacks you can throw out there, but when you look at, what did you say, 22 touchdowns for 2 interceptions,
21 and 2, yeah.
Flipping it. But it's the way he's executing it as well. He's not like he's not like going to one single receiver and, like just doing it that way. He's scoring with his tight ends. He's scoring with Devontae. He's scoring with Puka Nacua. He's throwing wheel routes to Kyron Williams. Like he's throwing bombs to Tutu Atwell. Like the guy, I just feel like he's so laser focused, and I feel like his arm talent is as good as anybody we've ever seen in the NFL. Like
yeah,
he throws the right now in the NFL. He throws the best ball, not the hardest, not the biggest arm, not the strongest, albeit he's got a lot of those. But he's got touch and strength and vision, and he can throw no-look passes. I think he's got the best throw in the NFL right now.
I think I don't necessarily think he's got the best. He's got the best arm, I think. Is that what you're trying to say?
Basically, yeah.
Not saying he's got the biggest arm. I'm not
the biggest arm, just the best, because he can throw big.
He can make every single throw, yeah. And I think that's the difference, I think, when it comes. And he's at an age now, I think, where probably Brady got to, and like Aaron Rodgers, where, you've seen every single defense. Like there's nothing that you've not seen before. So he automatically knows what they're doing. When people drop back, they go in zone, they're playing quarters, he knows everything. I think that's where he's at, because he has to be so efficient. And the throws he can make, them sidearm throws, and like you say, they're pinpoint accurate, and he throws it on a rope when he's just he's a great quarterback. I don't know, he could be the best quarterback in the league right now. He doesn't need to do it with his legs. And I think that's the difference between like Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar. Like he's a pocket passer still, and I think there's a purity to that. There's not many of them left. Like he doesn't need to run to get them first downs. Yeah, he doesn't put himself, especially because he's had so many injuries, and he is actually made of glass. Yeah, he's certainly having a season. He reminds me of, maybe I can't remember which was it, the season when the Bucs won the Super Bowl with Brady, where Rodgers won MVP, and he threw like 46 touchdowns and like 3 picks or 4 picks. I feel like that's the season that Stafford's going to have. I think it's going to be like, it's almost going to be unanimous to give him the MVP right now.
Yeah.
Unless he absolutely implodes in a couple of games.
But he's got so much around him to help him not. McVay is probably one of the best top 3 coaches in the NFL right now. Puka Nacua is absolutely top 5 wide receiver, probably top 3. Devontae's not too shabby at all, and probably still a top 10 if you're really going against what they can do. So they might.
He's super safe, isn't he? That's what you get with Devontae. Like he's not gonna run a route where he's putting himself in a position where he's gonna get nailed. Like he's just really, really savvy with his route running, and Puka Nacua, he can just do everything.
Yeah, I mean it's a great sign, and obviously this is slightly inflated because I don't think I've seen many worse teams than the current Saints team right now. But the Rams won 34 to the Saints 10, and it was never even remotely in doubt. When I said earlier about the personnel that the Steelers have been playing with, the only team that plays 13 personnel, and that's 3 tight ends, one receiver, more than the Steelers, is the Rams, and it's because they can beat you with one receiver in being Puka Nacua. But that also means they can run it down your neck. It also means that Stafford's very comfortable in throwing to his tight ends like Higbee, or this new tight end that they drafted, Ferguson. And I don't know. I feel like the Rams at the moment might be my NFC Super Bowl pick.
Okay.
Because of how good Stafford is and because of how good their defense is playing, because I think they've got two true number one wide receivers. Two true top 10 wide receivers.
Yeah, they are great. Unfortunately, the other side of the ball, things are not looking great.
For the Saints.
Yeah.
Poor. Really poor. They almost did what you told them to do last week, though. They did a lot of line Taysom Hill up and just try and run with it.
Yeah, well, I don't know how that's. Yeah, Taysom Hill is he deserves to go on such a better team. I despise him, but
I don't like him.
I feel like there are some teams that could really use a guy like him. You know, I feel like on the Steelers he'd be great because them little short yardage that they don't want to put Aaron Rodgers in. Like he could just come in the game and just run the ball. Like he feels like a Steelers player, doesn't he?
Yeah, bit gritty and grim, and yeah, I don't like him at all. But
no,
yeah.
What did you think to Tyler Shock or whatever his name is?
Tyler, I would have probably preferred to have Spencer Rattler in there still, if I'm honest. From what I saw, like he made a couple of good throws, not taken away from the fact that it was his first proper start, whatever. But I didn't see anything in him that excited me any more than Spencer Rattler. And I actually think Rattler is more elusive with his legs and just maybe pick up those first downs that maybe Tyler Shook. I mean, he tried to carry it for one attempt and went 2 yards. Like the difference that you've got with Rattler is I feel like he'll try and put himself on the line to get that next first down. Tyler Shuv is not what you want. He threw a horrible pick. Just as the commentator said as well, he's been really safe today. And he threw a pick. And it's like, you can't take the best thing away from a quarterback who's getting blown out 34 points deep is that he's been really safe today. If anything, you don't want to be safe. You want to be slinging the rock trying to get back into it. So
yeah,
they look awful.
I mean, that's
terrible.
Yeah, that drops them to 8-1 along with the Titans. It's going to be really close at coming to the end of the year because the Saints have got to play the Jets and the Titans.
Right.
So I feel like the Saints. Yeah, I feel like the Saints are the key to the number one pick.
They might be. I guess the difference is.
No, I was going to say. Go on.
We're so in sync. We finish each other's
sandwiches.
Yeah, did it? Yes, get it. Yeah, no, what I was going to say is I feel like the Saints are now, like after that game, because it was embarrassing, like the Rams are great, obviously, but it felt like they were playing with their food. Like that's how, like, it felt like they were just chasing this half, broken-legged mouse around a plate, just being like, we can do what we want. If we can do what we want. We'll score when we want. We'll stop you scoring when we want. I feel like the Saints should be the biggest team for available trades in the NFL right now, because the Titans might be 8-1, but you're building with players that you've only recently acquired, whereas the Saints have players that are like older than God's dog, and you may as well let them finish. Let Demario Davis finish his career somewhere like freaking exciting. Come to the Seahawks, or let Chase Young go somewhere else and try to be an actually effective pass rush. Even like Rashid Shaheed, if you want to keep Olave, fair enough, but let Shaheed go somewhere, who can throw him a deep ball and blow the doors off. Just get as many picks as you can so that you can start again. They've been in cap hell, the Saints have, for about a decade since Drew Brees and before. Just do it. Just draw a line under it. Move on.
It does seem to feel. I mean, I've seen the Saints play the Rams, and obviously we've played the Rams, and we were level at halftime with the Rams. I can feel it was a bit more competitive.
Yeah.
So I do think there's a difference between the 1-8 teams, and we'll throw the Jets in there as well at 1-7. I think the Jets and the Titans are maybe a level above where the Saints are in terms of
shit. But yeah,
I think so as well. But they have played. I feel like they've played some close games with teams. I don't think the Saints have played any close. Let me have a look. Actually, I don't think the Saints have played any close games with.
They have. They've been blown out.
Yeah, they've not. I mean, the Saints Patriots game was a 1-score game, but they got.
Who did they beat? Was it the Giants? Was it?
Yeah, 26-14.
Was that Russell Wilson led Giants, or was that a Jackson Dart?
That was.
I feel like it was a Wilson.
a 5th of October.
I feel like it was Wilson, but
No, it's not. It was Jackson Dart.
oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I think obviously you put a hurting on it. Yeah, it doesn't seem like the Saints have really put much up. Watch me saying all this now, and the Saints absolutely dump on the Titans.
Yeah.
Gods be good. Give me the first pick. Yeah, I do feel. I feel like there's a difference at the bottom. We're a bad team. I think the Saints are a really bad team, which is upsetting because when they had Drew Brees, they were relevant regardless. That shows you why Drew Brees should be a first ballot Hall of Famer. The fact they won a Super Bowl there as well.
Yeah.
Which is, again, I think the Saints are really, I mean, I've been to New Orleans. Well, we've both been there, haven't we? It's an absolute shithole. But most of America is, in fairness to America. Every downtown I think I've been to, less probably Nashville and Montana, has been a shithole. I think the Saints are a really good place to be.
Yeah.
If I was a quarterback, I think they play in a dome, which is indoors. The place is obviously quite
the culture of the city is,
it's a really cultural place.
Really, really interesting, and I'd imagine you'd have a great time as a player there.
Yeah, it got to be better than playing in
Cleveland.
I've tried a lot of people though, and I just for some reason they've not really found that guy. But I genuinely think there's 2 good quarterbacks coming out of this draft that are like franchise guys.
Right.
So hopefully they get one of them. I mean, ultimately they're probably going to go to the Saints and the Jets. So we'll see in a year's time, but
sure. Yeah. Okay. So that was
a little bit, but
I mean, it's all good. Matt Stafford gets a sign. We talk about him being potential MVP, and at mid-season, that's where I would actually send it, which hurts me, but it's true. No bias on this podcast. And the Saints are stinky. Where are we?
Your NFC sign.
Oh, my NFC sign is coming close to home. Real close to home. And I've already signed him once this season. I'm going to sign Sam Darnold. And if nothing else, I'm signing him for certainly the first half of this Seahawks game. So the Seahawks last night, prime time, suited up in lovely kits, by the way, the retro kits, which are my favourite kit, suited up against the Washington Commanders, aka Windsox, and they blew in the wind like a windsock this week against the Seahawks. And Sam Darnold just operated pure lights out in this game, especially in the first half. So he finished 21 of 24 for 4 touchdowns, one what I thought was a very silly interception, and he knew it. He was just trying to extend a play and make something happen that just didn't need to happen. But if you forget that one interception, he had a tremendous game. Essentially, one interception meant that he missed 2 other passes the whole game. He went on a 20-pass completion spree and 4 touchdowns before he incompleted a pass, which to me, I am a Seahawks fan, so I'm obviously going to try to be unbiased. But when I was watching this, it was like the ball was being spread between Smith and Jigba, shock, operating as the best wide receiver in the NFL this year so far, with another 129 yards for the season. He's on pace to be over 2,000 yards this year, which would eclipse any receiving record right now. Again, I'm not so stupid to think that this can continue every game for the rest of the season. He's just operating very well. But he has 129 yards. Torrey Horton, our 5th round pick, who's had a few touchdowns already this season, has 2 more. Elijah Arroyo, rookie tight end, has a touchdown. Like, these guys were scoring at will. And it was because our defense was stopping the Commanders, putting them under pressure, giving us back the ball in reasonable locations, or just getting them to punt. And it was weird. I've not watched a Seahawks game, I don't think, certainly in a very long time, but usually we're defense first. That's where our power comes from. But this just felt like our offense was operating to a level that could not be stopped. And I don't really know what else to say about it without sounding like a really gloaty, annoying dude, like, oh yeah, you Seahawks, you signed him, Sam Darnold. But like, at the end of the day, I'm being real now. Look at me. I am a man cheering for Sam Darnold, who coming into the season, I wasn't sure, if he was even going to be good. And so like the script is totally flipped in the fact that he is playing to a close to MVP caliber type season. And that's my opinion. Am I wrong? Am I deluded? Or what are you thinking, Dave? Because that is a lights out first half, four touchdowns.
Yeah, I don't think you're deluded. I think the first half of that game was unbelievable. You can't, when you don't miss a pass and you put 4 touchdowns on the board, I don't think anyone's going to call you delusional. He's been unbelievable this year. And if my team had put up the first half, I mean, not just the first half because it was a complete game. It just happened to all come essentially in the first half. Your defense still played amazing in the second half. It's difficult. I'd be shouting it from the rooftops. He's had nearly 300-yard games. He's had a 341, a 295, and a 330. 16 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. He's been amazing this season. He's only halfway through. And I don't think there's any reason why Smith and Jigba can't continue to, as long as Darnold's still doing that, it's because JSN's going to still be doing that on the other side,
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what's happened to the Commanders. The Wind Sox they seem to have regressed massively as well. Jaden Daniels wasn't good before he got injured. He looked like a deer in the headlights, running around. I know your defense is playing amazing because I've got him in fantasy. What did they do? They recovered a fumble. They forced a fumble, recover a fumble, and picked him off.
Yeah, picked him off as well. But
obviously you got
tackles for loss, in the backfield. They went back.
Yeah, they were constantly in there. I picked up Byron Murphy this week in fantasy. He got me a sack. But it seemed like they were always in the backfield. Him and Leonard Williams are a great pairing at DT. They're constantly causing trouble. Your edge rushers are getting home. Your corners are great. Your defense is really, really good. And ultimately, that's what you need. If you're going to go on these runs, if you can stop teams scoring, that's exactly what you want. You and the way your offense is playing as well. I just wish your run game was there. I really hope the trade for a running back who that one of those running backs that's just a massive difference maker. That really has to be accounted for. That you have to scheme to stop that guy running the ball, because that will just allow you to basically do what you did against the Wind Sox.
Yeah.
But now I'd be, like I said, the rooftops and the Seahawks sit at 6-2. That NFC West is a real. Mac Jones has got the Niners playing well. Stafford's obviously got the Rams playing well, and you've got the Ginger Prince making the Seahawks play well, along with that defense. So you've got to be happy. That's a tough. It's always been a tough division, isn't it? The NFC West.
Almost consistently, for one reason or another, whether it be the Rams, the Seahawks, or the Niners, for sure, for the last decade and a bit.
Yeah, but it's been multiple years where 3 of them teams have got into the playoffs.
Yeah,
and it's probably going to be that again this year.
I hope so. In the fact that, because when I say that, it's just because I hope the Seahawks get in, because I feel like if we get in, you've got every chance. And when your defense is playing to this level, I mean, I'm obviously bringing it back to Sam Darnold, to have a receiver on your team that is on pace to eclipse, Cooper Kupp's season with Matt Stafford and Megatron's season with Matt Stafford, ironically, if he's on pace for that, it means that he's playing damn good football. And I sent you a clip earlier of Jigba in one of his routes against one of the corners for the Commanders. Sam Darnold didn't actually even throw him that ball. He threw a touchdown to Arroyo instead, but he was wide open on that. That is in wide open to the end zone on that route.
That was Lattimore as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think he might have helped tear Lattimore's ACL because he's done for the season now. But there was just this. I don't know what's happened to Smith and Jigba, but him and Darnold have got that connection. And it's like one is playing great, the other playing great, and maybe they're both playing. I don't know whose fault that is. Is it actually in Jigba, who's absolutely lighting it up and therefore making Darnold look good? Is it Darnold putting in Jigba in the best position, or is it both? It's like Rodgers and Devontae. It used to be like, oh, who is it? But it was both.
Yeah, and the dude said how many games he played in? 8 games, and only 2 of them he's not at 100 yards, and one of them he had 96.
Yeah,
and then 79 in the other one. He's put 948 yards up this season, which most receivers, a lot of receivers won't even get in 1 year. He's a 1,000-yard receiver halfway through. Yeah, he's only got 4 touchdowns, but when you're spreading the ball around, I don't think it matters that much. He's having a great season. He could easily be he's going to be really, really tough come the end of the season to give out these awards for Offensive Player of the Year, because there's quite a few players that are up there for that Offensive Player of the Year award.
Yeah, for sure. No, it's good, and yeah, I definitely have to say, like, I am really surprised and happy from a Seahawks perspective, and why wouldn't I be? And it's even better when, I think we said it in Division Dives, when so many people were writing the Seahawks off in the start of the season. Some people had them last in the division, even behind the Cardinals. And again, we're halfway through the season. That could very well happen. But in terms of how it's going now, I feel like the Seahawks are showing that they're well coached. The only thing that's held us back and will continue to hold us back moving forward is injuries, which is really, really getting me down a little bit. Julian Love, who's like a leader on our defense, is now on our IR, so we'll miss the next 4 weeks. He's missed the last 3. That's a considerable loss. Ernest Jones, who's like, again, leader in the linebacker room, is out for multiple weeks. We've not had Devin Witherspoon for the last 2 weeks. Like, injuries, I know every team is injured, and gosh help the Niners. Any Niners fans listening to me now will be like, you think you've got problems, but it's just when you want to see your team actually play at full strength, like, that's what makes me kind of excited. I think, well, get Jordan Love back in, Julian Love back in here, and it could be even better. So,
yeah, I mean, it's a tough. You've looked at, you've got a bit of a tough schedule coming up. Cardinals, I know you should handily beat the Cardinals, but division games they can be anybody's. Yeah. Then you go to then you've got the Rams. Then the worst game of all, you've got the Titans. Could be a real tough one for you. I'm really looking forward to seeing that in person. Then the Vikings, Falcons, Colts, Rams again.
Yeah, that's
Panthers, Niners. It's a tough end to the season, but you've got to think if you can still get into the playoffs after maintaining that,
Yeah. Cool. I mean, that was very Seahawks heavy, but as listeners know, I am a Seahawks fan, and I do like to at least talk about them. Let's flip the script and go to the NFC slaps. Dave, where are you hanging your hand?
Oh, this is going on Jordan Love.
Packers.
Jordan Love, yeah, and the Green Bay Pactards.
Where's Camo? Is he here? No. So we can unleash. No. We'd unleash anyway, but unleash, Dave. We have no little Camo on this podcast for our listeners. I know a lot of people were messaging me during the game saying, can't wait to hear Camo moaning on this podcast. Well, guess what? You're not going to be able to, I'm afraid. I tried, I begged, I pleaded to get him on the episode, but he's still screaming into a pillow somewhere. Dave, you tell us why Lil Camo is not on this episode and why he's screaming into a pillow.
Yeah, I mean, the Green Bay Packers got beat by the below average at 5-4, I might add, Carolina Panthers. The much improved Carolina Panthers is what we probably should say. Don't know if we've got any Panthers listeners. I don't know if we've got any Panthers fans. The Panthers have fans, probably more than the Titans. And I bet they're a damn sight happier than the Titans fans. Yeah, the Carolina Panthers beat the Green Bay Packers. I mean, was it an exciting game? Some would say not. If you're a Panthers fan, I bet you strongly disagree. However, yeah, the Panthers beat the Packers 16-13. Not necessarily, like I say, an amazing game, but my slap's going to Jordan Love because, I mean, he could have gone to Bryce Young with 102 yards and 1 interception, but we're not. We're going to go to Jordan Love because they're on the receiving end of this beating. He played a bit of a stinky game. 26 of 37, 273 yards and an interception. The interception was god awful, and he could have had another one as well.
He definitely could, but that was one of the worst plays I think I've ever seen. Like, it wasn't the worst. I've seen worse, but there's been multiple times on this podcast, Dave, where Camo has said, Cam Ward playing like a rookie, throwing like a rookie. You've probably not been on those episodes where he said that because he values his life. But at the same time, he said that, and that to me was like, well, one of the most rookie mistake-ridden plays that I've ever seen. Throw the ball away. I know you're on 4th down, but like, you're going to make some mistakes.
Yeah, but at least try and throw it to one of the players wearing your kit. There was nobody around there apart from, like, I bet the Panthers guy was like, is that coming to me?
Yeah. Well, he dropped it out of surprise, didn't he? He could have caught it and took it to the house, but he dropped it.
Yeah. No, he played a bad game. I mean, I was going to slap the Packers for that kit because that was one of the worst things I've ever seen. That kit they were wearing, that throwback kit.
Yeah.
Like, what's up with them helmets?
Yeah, it looked like something out of Fortnite, like something that had been like lacquer printed, They had like stitching printed onto the helmet, and it was like, what? Like, why are you trying to make that plastic helmet look like leather?
Yeah, no, I didn't
Nah.
enjoy that, but he didn't play well at all. There are too many for a team that's in playoff contention constantly. You know that they're always well coached. They seem to draft well, these players, and to go down to the Panthers the way they did, you know, it was a real shocker. They've lost Tucker Kraft, you know, their tight end who was having an exceptional season from the tight end position. He's down now with an ACL. They just, on the whole, the Packers, I feel like they deserved to lose. They couldn't do anything, you know. They 6 points in the second quarter and then 7 points in the fourth quarter. And then to lose 16-13 was it just wasn't a good show all around. I'm slapping Jordan Love, I guess, because he's the guy that controls the ship, you know, he's the captain of the ship, as it were. But they didn't even have a 100-yard rusher or a 100-yard receiver. It was just a real poor performance. Whereas obviously on the other side, Rico Dowdle continues to be amazing.
Yeah, he's running back.
I don't know where they've been hiding him or why they've not been playing him from the start of the season, but he had 25 carries, 130 yards, 2 tutties. That was basically it from the offense. It was a bit of a stagnant game, but a win's a win. And do you know what? For the Panthers, you know, it really keeps them in contention for the playoffs, which is the craziest thing on this planet. Bryce Young, I mean, again, like I say, I'm not saying he had the best game ever, but he is starting, I think, to turn the corner. And
Yes.
Dave Canales, is it their head coach? He must be. I don't know what he's sprinkling in the water there, but they do look like a far better team.
They feel like they've found something to play for, or he's given them something to play for, other than sheer embarrassment, which is what's been the Panthers' last probably 20 games until recently. So, yeah, I mean, whilst you're talking head coaches, Dave, I'm also slapping somebody from the Packers, but I'm slapping the ever smug Matt LaFleur from the Packers, because he's not a coach that I like anyway. I actually respect what he's been able to do at times, but so many times I also question his play calling, his arrogance. He's just one of I hate his haircut, I hate his teeth, I hate his face. Like, I would love to just headbutt him square in the nose, because I think he'd be more bothered about like what it does for his image as opposed to like trying to gain retribution and headbutt me back. There's nothing about him or what he does for the Packers that I actually really genuinely like. I really dislike the Packers anyway. I don't know whether it's because they've just been so relevant for so long that I want them to taste some form of defeat. I don't know whether it's because Cam is the most like slyly smug person when the Packers are doing well you'll ever meet. Like, he pretends like he doesn't care, but really, 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 really does. And I think that's all part of their non-charm. And when you go back to the start of the season where the Packers beat the Lions, then they beat the Commanders, because at the time everybody thought the Commanders were the Commanders of last year who won the NFC Championship, but now we know the Commanders are bluff. And then they lost to the Browns, then drew with the Cowboys, then scraped to win against a shoddy Bengals team, then scraped to win against the Cardinals by 3 points, then scraped to win against the Steelers, then lost to the Panthers. I genuinely think the Packers have got like some fundamental worries. Like, they're still a good team. Jordan Love's a good quarterback. Josh Jacobs is a great running back. They've got Micah Parsons, who's arguably the best defensive player in the NFL. They've got pieces, but yet they're still in trouble. So why are you barely beating these ass teams and then losing at home at Lambeau, the one saving grace, the one mecca, the one fortress of solitude that you have to be able to stand behind, and getting dumped on by Bryce Young at Lambeau? Like, it feels like the wheels are potentially falling off for the Packers. Tucker Kraft going down with an ACL is also real bad news for them, because he's when I was listing players, I should have listed him as a top 5 tight end. Yeah, but I think that all boils down to your coach and being arrogant. And like I put in the group chat last night, I'm sick to death of seeing the Packers going for it on 4th down like they're playing a game of Madden, on 4th and 7, 4th and 13, 4th and 5, 4th and 6. They convert a lot of them, but they're not doing it out of like utter desperation, where you're chasing a game by 20 points or something. Yeah, okay, you've got to go on fourth down. It's almost like they can't believe that they aren't going to score, so they go on it. And then in this game, it didn't work out. Like in this game, that was the issue. Like if they'd have punted or kicked a field goal or whatever, it might have been a different outcome. But instead, they tried it, couldn't get it done. Well done, Packers. Well done, Panthers defense as well. They played a really solid game against those receivers. Who, again, if you stack them up against each other, who are those Packers receivers? They are almost a bunch of like average to nobodies who Jordan Love, I think, makes look quite good. But the receivers themselves, I don't think they're worth a thing. That Matthew Golden that they took in the first round has been absolutely ass. Not done a thing.
It's been awful.
Been outplayed by Torrey Horton from the Seahawks, who's had 5 touchdowns in the season and about 400 yards, who got drafted in the 5th. Like, what the heck?
Yeah, no, I don't know. I mean, do you know what the Packers didn't even punt this game.
I went on fourth downs.
That's how. Yeah, no, I'm with you. I do think they need to be brought down a peg or two. You can't be good all this time. You need to have some time sucking. So I'm glad they've lost.
Yeah, for the listeners out there, we have spoke to Cam. He's not on this podcast, not because he's screaming into a pillow. I mean, he might be, but he's just not available this evening. But he was not pleased. He was not pleased with the result. He said that he did resign to the fact that apparently he resigned to the fact that the Packers were going to lose in the first quarter, which I think is wild. But that was maybe what he was setting himself up to avoid heartbreak. But he said that he kind of knows that when the Packers get into this sort of slump, it's very hard to get out of. And that, yeah, he was not pleased with the Packers' loss to the Panthers, and I guess that's putting it mildly, because Cam is generally quite reserved. But I know these listeners were hoping for some rage, and I know it's in there. One more loss, and I think we'll see it burst out of him. Packers privilege, Dave. I said on a previous podcast, is that's what Cam has got, a Packers privilege. Even when they win, he slaps them. So when they lose, imagine
the rage. These Packers fans, they're not built for it. They're not built for the suck,
No, for sure. And that's it. And that was a long slap or sign, but we've covered most of the game. So that is slap or sign over. We'll just skip through the games that we did miss. One was a big one. One was a big NFC North battle between the Lions and the Vikings. It's JJ McCarthy's first start for the Vikings in a few weeks. Everybody expected him to be ass because he was ass at the start of the season. And guess what? He wasn't ass. And guess what? The Vikings beat the Lions at the Lions' house 27-24. Jared Goff having a quarterback off with a young JJ McCarthy. And I think this came down to the fact that they just schemed up a great defense for this Lions team. The defensive coordinator for the Vikings, what's his name? Can't remember.
Flores.
That's the one. I always forget his name, but Brian Flores was in his bag. Was absolutely in his bag. Pressure all over Jared Goff, and that's a great offensive line to get pressure on. I mean, this was a surprise to me, David. I don't know if it was to you. And I guess quick talk about JJ McCarthy. He's proved that he's a better starter than Wentz.
Yeah, and I think that you can't look at the stats and you can't look at the stat line and think you can kind of judge a game by it, because statistically it wasn't that great. 14-25, 143 yards, 2 touchdowns and an interception, but he also had a rushing touchdown. He looked really good. I thought he looked really composed and could move outside the pocket, made some nice throws. And yeah, I think the tail of the tape was the fact that Jared Goff was essentially on his back for most of it. Again, get pressure on the quarterback, make his life uncomfortable, and he'll make either errant throws or he won't be able to do anything, And this is what I was saying about the Lions leading from the front. When you put them in a hole, they've got to pass for it. You look at their rushing totals. David Montgomery, 40 yards. Jahmyr Gibbs, 25. Montgomery had a horrific fumble as well.
Yeah, he did. Really bad. Really, really bad. And it just got away from the Lions real quick. And I've got a feeling that they underestimated what
I think so, yeah.
What the Vikings were actually bringing to the table. I feel like they were probably looking to the next, looking on to the next one, going, well, we've not got a challenge here in McCarthy. Let's just hassle him, make him make some mistakes, and we'll be sweet. And that's definitely not what happened. So yeah, I know we've got plenty of Vikings fans listening to the podcast. So Big win for you guys. Big win for the Vikings. 4-4 keeps you relevant. Makes that NFC North also a quite a dangerous place to be.
Yeah.
The Lions at 5-3, Vikings at 4-4, and this is what I mean about the Packers. The Packers are still top of that division, Dave. I feel like that is such a bluff position for how they've played versus playing, the Lions, not the Vikings. They've not played well, but even the Bears, they're so fortunate they're still in the playoffs. They're still probably like a top seed, and they've played some awful football. So I know I sound like a Packers hater. I'm generally not, but I really feel like this year they've been very fortunate with what's happened, generally speaking. And yeah. So what about your boys, Dave? We've not spoken about them in major depth. Let's talk about the Tennessee Titans. And you're at home, right, to the Chargers, invited the Chargers in to Tennessee, Nashville. You scored 20 points. You scored 14 in the opener. Then they kept you to some field goals, but it didn't feel like, the narrative, I guess, of the Titans games so far this season felt like closer.
Yeah, I think what I want to see, and what I've said a load of times, is I just want to see them getting better and each week seeing some kind of improvement. And essentially, we were in this till the end. I think essentially the offense let us down. Special teams, I mean, you score a touchdown on defense, you score a touchdown on special teams. The least you can expect is the offense to at least put a touchdown up.
Sure.
We didn't do that. Cam Ward, he continues to be this rookie that's really frustrating, where he'll make some absolutely amazing throws 20 yards, 30 yards down the field, and then struggle with the underneath stuff. I do think I'd like to see him use his legs a little bit more, and I've said it a couple of times, just to get them first downs, because he just makes such a difference to your team when your quarterback can escape the pocket and just get a 6-7 yard gain. Just make second down, third down so much more manageable. He's yet to do that, and I think whoever's coming in will probably want him to do that. It's all good saying you want to be this pocket passer, but you need to get them. Even these Justin Herbert's a pocket passer, but I actually think Justin Herbert's leading the league in QB rush yards.
Right.
You've got to do what you got to do to get these first downs and make it a little bit. You can't just expect your defense and special teams to win it for you, and the Titans clearly don't. That's why we're 1-8.
Yeah.
The Chargers, I mean, again, I think it was a battle of the worst O-lines in football, to be honest with you, because we allowed 4 sacks and we sacked Justin Herbert 6 times, and we're not a good defensive line. Justin Simmons. My God, why can't I think? Jeffrey Simmons hasn't been playing. He's injured, so it was Jihad Ward and Draymond Jones. I want to say Draymond Jones
had a great
unbelievable game. Yeah, he's been good. Quandre Diggs, he's been steady. Jihad Ward had 2.5 sacks. Draymond Jones had a sack and a half. So they had a great game. Cedric Gray's been a really good second-year linebacker. He's good. He had 16 total tackles, 11 tackles and 5 assists and a sack. He had a staunch game. But to be fair, DK, he's the guy that's kind of been it for us at the minute. He's leading the league in all-purpose yards. He's obviously a kick returner, but he had a kick return for a touchdown. He's been really good for us. And Eric Iomana is another rookie receiver, so we picked them up in like the 3rd and 4th rounds. They seem to be doing bits for us, which is good because it means that you've got them in the future.
I like them both, and in year one, when everything's been a little bit start struggling, Cam Ward's not been playing his best football, yet there's still seemingly relevant-ish, names within the franchise. I feel like as he gets better, they get better. Like they're already showing that they are going to be useful tools as the team progresses, and you layer in maybe another receiver on top of them, or a world-beating tight end, you might end up having something that's like, actually, they've obviously got juice, they can play football. A lot of the time you see players like DK, like Tyler Lockett, start as a return wonder man specialist, and then over the course of 2-3 seasons become next to elite wide receiver, because all the skill set is essentially still the same, just transfers. So I could see them being both really relevant for the Titans for a while. Yeah,
hopefully. I mean, that's obviously like, I'm trying not to get too low on them on like the season in general, because I do think we're a building team, and although I expect us to lose every week, which is quite sad, then we're improved. That was a way more competitive game. Like Cam said, he resigned to the fact that the Packers were going to lose in the first quarter. Like, sometimes I know the Titans are going to lose, but we're a bad team. The Packers are a good team. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's a weird thing. But the Chargers looked. I mean, I don't want to say the Chargers looked good because I don't think they did. I think they struggled on offense. Justin Herbert had 57 rushing yards. You know, because we've got basically nobody's playing at corner, and we were covering them quite well downfield. So he's used his legs. He had 250 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. It was a pick 6. I don't really know what to make of them. I think they're 6-2 now, 6-3 they are. Yeah. I don't necessarily think they're a team that's going to make a deep playoff run. I think they've got a lot of holes. Their offensive line is awful. Yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, for sure. I thought you held a good account. You know, start of the season, the Chargers were like being hailed as one of the best teams in football. Definitely not the case. Herbert's decent, but still, I feel like we're seeing the same old Charger problems. And I feel like it's good that you hung with them, even though, you know, it takes special teams, takes defensive score. But where doesn't that? You know, when you're looking at the Broncos and the Texans, and they're winning games on defense. Why not the Titans? Right? There's no reason why not. So yeah, be interesting to obviously see how things go. As I said to you earlier, I feel like the best thing that could happen is happened to the Titans this week, in the fact that you looked better than you did last week, and you still lost, which gives you better picks. That's it. Losing hurts. Like, it equally is probably the best thing.
Yeah, I'm like, without a doubt, that's right. You know, I'm glad we're playing better, but ultimately we want the best picks available so we can pick the best players and then build through the draft. Like these teams are, like the Jags, you know, the Texans, all these teams that have, the Bears, you know, all these teams that have essentially drafted high for the last couple of years. They're starting to see the fruits of their labor. You know, they're starting to get all round better, and I think that's all the Titans can hope for in the next couple of seasons. So
for sure, nice. Okay, that was Tennessee. Another game we've not spoke about. We'll get through this one. Is Atlanta Falcons lost by 1 point to the New England Patriots, 24-23. Ultimately, Patriots are the real deal. They're winning games. Drake May is playing incredible football. He threw for 259 yards, 2 touchdowns, QBR 102, and 1 interception. Michael Penix had a reasonable day, I guess, in the scheme of things, threw for three touchdowns, no interceptions. But the Patriots just keep finding a way every week, and they're 7-2 now. They've got like the second best record in the AFC. They are heading to the playoffs. They've got the easiest run you've ever imagined on paper when you look at the teams that they've got to play for the rest of the season. I think I sent it to you and Cam the other day. There's already about 6 guaranteed wins in that, and so that means the Patriots are in the playoffs, and like subject to something not, you know, like not a massive injury happening to Drake May or something. And the Falcons remain this like unknown weird cauldron of mediocrity. You know, one week they can beat the Bills, the next week they get blown out by the Panthers, and then they kind of look like they could win after, you know, constantly scoring against the Patriots, but then still ultimately can't get the extra point to keep it close and take it to overtime. And yeah, I don't like the Falcons as it stands. One thing I will say, because I've said this enough times on this podcast, I've said Drake London is overrated many times. He's changing my mind, like legitimately changing my mind. I'm not fully changed yet. But
yeah, he was awesome. Made some outrageous catches.
He did. 118 yards, 3 touchdowns. The guy got a hat trick. So whilst he keeps doing that, I will absolutely stop poo-pooing him. Another game we didn't speak about. I don't know whether this was a stinky affair. Ultimately, it wasn't in terms of the scoreline, but the Jaguars played the Raiders in Las Vegas. The Jaguars ended up winning 30-29. Raiders went for 2 on the final play of the game to try and win it. Didn't win it. Geno Smith had the ball battered down, threw an awful interception in this game as well, but he also threw 4 touchdowns, and it's because he got Brock Bowers back. And you messaged in the chat last night, Dave, how much of a stud Brock Bowers is as a tight end. He had a triple tutty day with 3 touchdowns, 127 yards. I mean, that guy is a special tight end, isn't he?
He's unbelievable. Like that, the slant, like catch and run that he scored. Maybe it was his last touchdown. Was unbelievable. Like for a big dude, he looks like he's put a bit of weight on, as in like muscle weight, and he can still shift. I think if he'd have been playing the full season, he'd easily be. I mean, I think he's the best. I think he's the best tight end in football anyway.
Yeah,
I think he'd clearly be showing that.
Yeah, I mean, off the back of that game for sure, because he looked almost unstoppable, and it gave Geno Smith a glimmer of hope, albeit still not enough to beat a Jags team who I don't think they played very well. Like, they didn't play very well, yet they still won, so that says something about it. Trevor Lawrence didn't throw a touchdown. He ran to him. One was a sneak, and then one was like an open QB draw. He threw an interception, which was awful on the opening drive. He just doesn't look good. The Jaguars are 5-3, so they're doing something right, but he just doesn't look good. So 30-29, I think the main thing to take away from this game was we had NFL history, and Cam Little from the Jaguars hit a 68-yard field goal, which is a new NFL record, beating the record of Justin Tucker from the Ravens from a couple of years ago. I mean, 68 yards is an absolute nugget of a kick, and he had more in him. I thought he could have been 3-4 yards back and it would have gone over. So that was like a 70-yard kick, but registered as a 68-yarder. Well done, Cam Little. There was no way you were going to get a sign from me, though, the way that the Jaguars played, and it was a needs-must kick at the time. And I think, there's one more game that we missed. The Giants losing to the Niners, McCaffrey being fed. Giants lost 24-34. The Niners are 6-3, finding ways to win. They've had another, I'd say, really, really impactful injury in their first-round pick. Michael Williams, edge rusher, has torn his ACL. So in one season, they've lost Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, and Malik Williams, as well as not have had George Kittle for most of the season and not have had Brock Purdy for a lot of it, which I think Mac Jones is covering quite nicely, to be fair. I think he's playing really, really solid football, and clearly he is because they're winning. Yeah.
I mean, that turf at MetLife needs to go, doesn't it? Let's be honest.
It hurts.
That's like, turf is just an ACL killer, isn't it? They need to get rid of that and just have grass. It should just be a rule. You need to have grass. I mean, why they don't baffles me.
Yeah.
If football teams, and by football I mean soccer, can play 40 games on grass and the grass be okay, why can't NFL teams do it?
Yeah.
You know, all rugby stadiums are grass.
Yeah.
Why are NFL games? Why do they not? I mean, they play like 8 games on them.
You can argue that the grass in soccer games and rugby games is probably under much more duress because you've got scrums, you've got people running up and down the pitch constantly, whereas at least in the NFL you're lining up at a particular point and then taking off, then stopping. You know, it's not continuous beat down.
No, I don't understand it. But they must have some kind of bizarre reason for it, but I don't know.
Probably lining the pockets of some AstroTurf company somewhere that's I don't know.
Yeah, well, I imagine that's part of it, not having the expense of having to like maintain grass, you know. But it's bonkers to me, you know. All the players want grass. I mean, look at what was his name? What was the left tackle for the Packers who couldn't play on turf?
Yeah, David Bakhtiari.
Yeah, could only play on grass. That's outrageous because his knees and ankles and that hurt too much.
That is wild, but it has such a big impact. Yeah, but I mean, the Niners win this one. Another injury. The Jackson Dart-led Giants just don't have that spark without Scatterbo and without Malik Neighbors. I think they're operating too short-handedly as well now, and just without the key cornerstones to be able to do what the Niners are doing. I thought the wheels would fall off the Niners, and they really haven't. So we'll see what the second half of the season brings, and if they can continue operating the way that they have done. I'd like to think that they can't, just because I'm a Seahawks fan, but every other reason feels like they can. So yeah, let's see. And that's the game recaps, Dave. That's all of them. And the only thing we've got left is to look ahead to Monday Night Football, which is tonight, live from AT&T Stadium. Arizona Cardinals taking on the Cowboys. Cowboys have been up and down all year. Cardinals have been scrappy, unpredictable. Maybe a bit of a shocker to some teams, but generally not been great. What are you seeing for this one?
It's got to be the Cowboys.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Trust Dak more than you trust Jacoby Brissett.
I trust my dead nan more than I trust Jacoby Brissett.
Nice. Yeah, I think exactly the same. Ultimately, whilst the Cowboys have not got a great defense, they're coming in with a healthy CD Lamb, a healthy George Pickens, Javonte Williams, who's been a beast in the running game, and Dak, who's been playing as, I would say, as good as any quarterback, but he's been playing very good quarterback play this year so far. And the Cardinals are backup. They're backup quarterback. They've got no running backs to speak of because they've all gone down injured, and they're facing some of their own issues, I guess, with Will Johnson questionable, Walter Nolan out and on injured reserve. So yeah, I think the Cowboys probably pit them to the post with this one, and then that will be week 9 done, dusted, in the books. On to week 10. Good. We should have a lot of trades and roster shifts over the next couple of days because of the trade window. We will come to you on another podcast if that happens at the end of this week. But for now, back half of the season starts. Playoff picture starts to really take shape. Dave, appreciate you joining. Everyone, thanks for listening. Hit us up at In the End Zone UK on all of our socials. And until next time, football is life. Cheers, Dave.
Football is live.
Catch me balling like I'm in the end zone. I got my homies in a no new friend zone. Making plays that land us in the end zone. Coming in clutch, you can catch me in the end zone. End zone.